Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Beauty Expanded podcast. I'm your host, Jade Hernandez. It's so good to really sit down and take a free day, really enjoying this free space to connect with you all. So it's one of those things I'll be sharing on this episode is my new work schedule, which I have been absolutely obsessed with. And the significance of pancakes, that's just a little reminder for me to explain what that means. But in this episode in particular, I wanted to share a few things that I've been learning about myself and of highly successful people that I've been so fortunate to either coach and be mentored by and or just simply have been watching. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Jade Hernandez, a camouflage tattoo artist and educator. I help beauty bosses effectively market their business and become the authority in their field, close more leads, and make more money. In the past 6 years, I've launched 2 successful beauty businesses to multiple 6 figures with over 100 5-star raving reviews and several media press spotlights. While most marketers will tell you to hustle and work harder for success, I'll show you how to create more value from the inside out so that you work less, make more, and truly expand and transform your business and life. This is the Beauty Expanded podcast. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I've been in a little funk when it comes to my social media presence as of lately. And it's nothing new. There's definitely been times and seasons where I feel really inspired and motivated and have so many ideas and things I want to post. And other times where I take a step back and I don't post. And that's the season that I'm in right now where I haven't been feeling truly inspired. And I really pride myself, and maybe this is not the best thing, but I am very intentional with the things that I post on my social media. And as of lately, I just haven't been feeling intentional about anything of significance in regards to posting. So maybe by doing this episode today, I'll feel re-inspired as I kind of process everything that's been going on. But one of the catalysts, and maybe this is something that you can relate to, is last week I found myself just endlessly scrolling through social media. And that's never a good thing, right? Because it's kind of the gateway to the comparison trap and all the things. And as I was scrolling through social media, I was feeling a little bit of that burnout of seeing all these trends and things that were going on and being like, damn, the trends change daily. I feel like I can't keep up with it all. And can you relate? Can you relate to just being like, there is trend after trend and I just can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with the rat race, or like the hamster wheel is what I call it. When I'm in those moments, I just pause and reflect. So that day in particular, when I was feeling kind of defeated and being like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play this game. This isn't fulfilling for me. It's not exciting. I don't want to fall into the trap of trying to be relevant like everyone else. So I tuned into a podcast with one of my mentors because I know that anytime I hear any sort of wisdom from him, I always leave feeling better than I came in. And in this podcast episode, which was so aligned with exactly how I was feeling, he was breaking down some of the secrets and habits of highly successful people that he knows. And it just resonated with me. It was exactly what I wanted to hear. So to paraphrase the entire episode, essentially, the bottom line is that highly successful people tend to do things the opposite, if not different and in their own way than mainstream. So it's the people that think of money differently, use money differently, invest in different things, do things outside of the grain, outside of the box that I've noticed. So when I was listening to this episode, I was actually applying it to a lot of the people that I know, who I aspire to be, who I look up to, who I highly respect in their respected fields. And he's absolutely right. Everyone that I know who's truly, truly successful, they resonate on a different vibration. They resonate and live their life very differently than the masses, than the mainstream. Then it got me thinking, which was so affirming for me. And I'm hoping that as you're listening to this, if you can relate, that it helps you feel better with where you're at. Because there was something in me, or there is something in me that doesn't want to do what everyone else is doing. I'm a rule breaker. I'm not a rule follower. And I don't pride myself to be a rule follower. And anytime I think about my business and the ways in which I've built it and my brand and the things that we post and the things that we do, I always joke around with my husband. I'm like, oh, I'm a trendsetter. And there's a lot of truth that's backed up behind that, because oftentimes when I post something, I do see people copy it, replicate it, follow it. And I've always known that about myself. When I was listening to the podcast episode, I was like, Jade, it was just a great reminder that I'm not the type of person. It's not in my makeup to follow trends. It's not in my makeup to do things because everyone else is doing it. That's not how I operate. It was really affirming for me to ground myself in knowing and accepting that I am different, and that it's okay if I don't want to follow the trends and doing what TikTok and Instagram is pushing us to do. It's never resonated with me, and that's okay. It also gave me that little bit of confidence as well of being like, hey, like you could be onto something by not wanting to do that, by actually being turned off by the idea of doing the trending stuff, the reels and all that stuff. If you find yourself feeling weird at times, feeling like an outlier, feeling like you don't necessarily see things like everyone else does, then let the possibility that those things that make you weird are actually the things that are going to lead to your greatness. As I let this episode resonate with me and kind of like get me to reflect on a couple of things, it led me down to the path in which I started looking at everyone that I look up to and highly, highly respect in the industry, whatever industry that they're in. And I also noticed one thing about them as well, is that they utilize and think of time very differently than most people. You guys have heard from past episodes that I'm a huge believer that time is one of our most valuable resources. And the reason why time is so valuable to me is because I truly understand that it's finite, that it's not limitless. You always have the ability to make more money, but you don't have the ability to make more time. In fact, if you think about a bank account, we're always spending time. We're always deducting from time. And because I know that intrinsically, I am very diligent in how I manage and utilize my time. And that's what I hope that you get out of this episode, is a new way and a new shift in thinking of the value of your time and how it correlates to how you value yourself. When something is scarce, it's naturally more valuable. It's the reason why a diamond is worth more than a beaded bracelet. So when your time becomes more scarce, it also becomes more valuable. And the interesting phenomenon is that when your time becomes more scarce, other people then begin to treat you with more value. The thing with highly, highly successful and effective people is that they do understand this rhythm and momentum with success. And in order to understand that rhythm and momentum of success means that they have managed or have learned to manage their time and energy in a very different way than I would say most of the people out there. So for example, if you find yourself always in a rush, you're always running late, you always have a million things to do before you rush out the door, that shows that you're not disciplined with your time. And when you're not disciplined with your time, you lose out on the momentum of hyper productivity and success. I would even say time also comes down to how we perceive ourselves and the value and worth we put on ourselves. Because how you choose to give your time to, like who you give it to, how you give it, where you direct your energy and attention towards, is directly connected to how you perceive the value within yourself. Whether consciously or not, if you see yourself as someone with little to no value, you're probably going to find yourself wasting time in things of little to no value. Scrolling, thinking of all the things you could be doing, but not actually applying action towards it, saying you're going to do this, but then not following through, mindlessly watching and binging Netflix documentaries and TV and all the things, reality shows, and not really producing anything, versus people who actually see themselves as having tremendous value are naturally more inclined to be mindful of how they spend their time and who they spend it with. I had a mentor who would always say, you are where your attention is. You are where your attention is. And so is your attention on the overwhelm, the craziness, the busyness, or is your attention on the things that are going to bring back value into your life and that are of value? When I look at highly successful and effective people, how are they utilizing their time? Because if you go back to where I began with time is our most valuable resource, how are they actually spending and utilizing that valuable resource in their life? And one thing that I've noticed with highly successful people is that they have no problems spending money on things that are going to give them more time or comfort in their time, or that is most effective for their time. So, for example, flying versus driving. What is going to actually be most effective of their time to spend the money on a flight ticket versus driving 5 hours, for example? How they see time is often very different than most people. So in our mentorships, in our business programs, we're always encouraging our students to hire and begin to delegate and automate systems in their business, outsourcing it to a virtual assistant, for example. And so many people come to me and they're like, Jade, I'd love to hire a virtual assistant, but I just don't have enough business yet. I'm not making enough money. Once I make enough money, then I will, or I can't afford one yet. And my response is always, consider the possibility that the reason why you aren't where you're at right now is because you haven't hired one yet. Because you can't get on that momentum of success and that frequency of success to really grow your business and expand your business if you're spending the most valuable resource you have, time, in all the things that you can't do. So it goes back to you are where your attention is. Is your attention on all the things, all the energy that you're putting forth, on all the things that you can't have until X, Y, and Z happens? Or is it on where you're going to go and where you're going to be? Because what got you here right now won't get you there. And I got to tell you that new level, new devil. So the higher that you climb in your business, the more busy you get, the more leads you get in, the more clients that you tattoo, the demands of time and energy only increase as well. So every level that you climb will require a new structure for you to create to be at your optimal level, which is what I call your zone of genius. So set up your business now to prepare and expect that growth to happen versus getting into a place where you're so overwhelmed with all the things that you can't keep up with that momentum, which then actually stunts the growth of your business because you're either going to burn out or things are going to begin to slip. You're not going to be able to get back to everyone. You're going to have disgruntled clients. You're going to begin to build a reputation that you're a flaky artist or that you never get back to people. And your level of customer service then begins to lower, which may or may not have a direct reflection on the income that you're producing. So many people operate in the do have be, which is in order to be this person, in order to have this business, I need to first do this so that I can then have this so that I can become this. And one of my first mentors, Jim Fortin, always talks about the reframe that it actually needs to be to have, not have to be. And he talks about how in order to be that person that you want to be, you have to first change your identity. Because, and again, it goes back to what got you here won't get you there. And so you have to change your entire paradigm to have something that you've never had before. So in order to have what you've never had before, you actually have to be that person to then begin to do things differently because that person over there, that 2.0 version of you, does things differently in order to have the things that they have that you don't have right now. So that higher version of yourself begins to do things differently, begins to see things differently, to then have things that are very much different than where you are right now. And it goes back to that episode that I listened to earlier where highly successful people do things very differently. And that is the common denominator that I've even personally noticed in all of them. And it's been something that I've been playing around with and bringing play back into my business of being like, throw the rules out the table. If I want to post, I'm going to post. I'm going to post in a way that feels good with me. I'm going to post in a way that feels aligned with me. That's still going to serve those that need to hear my message. But I'm going to just ignore the noise, because when everyone's doing the mainstream and they're following each other's posts and all that stuff, they're just creating more noise. And I've always strived to stand out because I do things differently. And that's really what I wanted to share in this episode today, is for you to start thinking about how your life would change right now if you were doing more of the things that lit you up. Not because of what society expects from you, not because this is the current trend, but what actually feels good for you. And when you can begin to create more space and implement more things in your day that actually feel good to you, you can then begin to attract more goodness back into your life, because it's that goodness, that juice, that begins to change the quality and value of your time. I'm sure that if you were to change your life right now, doing more of the things that you were really passionate about, the quality of your life can't help but change with that. Then when the quality of your life begins to change, then the quality of your time begins to change. And when you can then begin to think about the value of your time in relation to the growth of your business, then you can really begin to create a business of your dreams when you're most focused on the things that you are most aligned with and value. And I think that's where I see a lot of entrepreneurs slip up, is they have a lack of integrity with what they say they value versus what they do. And how you do one thing, as Jim always used to say, is how you do everything. And so when you begin to, or at least I've noticed, is when I notice people saying that they're going to do one thing and never following through, it's no surprise to me, and see that they lack confidence within themselves. And the reason why they lack confidence within themselves is because they know that their word means nothing. And I know that that's going to sting some of you guys listening to this, but I also am stepping into this new era in my business where I'm going to say what's true for me in the most graceful way that I can. And I'm human and I may fuck that up at times, but I'm just not going to say things to like appease everyone, because I really never see breakthroughs happen that way. And truth is the highest frequency. It's those moments where you can get like a chill, right? Like when someone says something and you all of a sudden get goosebumps. It's like more of that. I want more of that because I want more truth. I want to know that I'm on the path that I'm supposed to be. And if for some reason I get swayed, I want a breakthrough or something to get me back on the path quicker. That is probably the biggest thing that I see with a lot of entrepreneurs, is they lack integrity. And that integrity being that be do have, the being in lack of integrity has a rippling effect on their confidence and their belief in themselves, which is impossible for it not to affect their business and the growth of their business and where they want to be. And so how do you begin to be the person that you want to be in order to do the things that you need to do in order to have the things that you want to have? The first thing is to really begin to write out and journal about what you really want for yourself. And this can be personal and this can be professional. And I would say take your time with it and write it out as if there were zero limitations and expectations. You could have whatever it is that you want to have. And the more detailed that you can be, the more visceral and real it will feel to you. And that's the thing that you want to evoke, is actual emotion. And then once you write out and get a really clear picture and understanding of what that looks like for you, it's then beginning to ask yourself quality questions that lead to quality answers. It's, who do I need to be in order to have this? Like, what type of person that's created all of this do on a day-to-day basis? Where do they spend their time and energy on? Where do they get a return on energy from? And as you begin to list those qualities out, all I would suggest is to start implementing one or two of those things, no matter how small they may seem, and begin to change those habits to becoming that person and beginning to value your time differently, so that when you experience time differently for yourself, you can give the gift of that presentness to those you serve. I've really learned how to structure my business and automate a lot of the things and change up my schedule so that I can have more space and freedom to create and to be. Because in that beingness is where the magic happens, so that I can be fully connected and present to my clients and my family. And it's interesting because this year I really shifted my entire work schedule. And I actually thought that it would be harder to uphold than it has been, because last year I would work 6 days a week and I would try and always get someone in. So this little people pleasing manner of yes, 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 I'll get you in, I'll figure it out, figure out a way. And it didn't serve me, nor did it serve me or my clients, because I would always be on the verge of burnout. And I wasn't enjoying my craft anymore, if I'm being fully transparent. When I started playing around with time and the essence of time and being able to value it differently, look at it differently, and play with it, like actually bring some play into it, I created my dream schedule. And I'm now working my dream schedule for this stage of my life, because as my business grows, then maybe next year or 6 months down the line, I might need to restructure it, and I'm open to that. And one of the things that I've really shifted is now I'm very intentional with only tattooing 3 days a week, if not maybe 4 when we're training. But typically my ideal work week is Mondays are left for coaching, whether I'm being coached or I'm coaching our mentees and our entrepreneurs. Tuesdays are meant for consultations, client consultation. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm tattooing clients. Saturday, I'd like to reserve only if I really, really want to work that Saturday and or if we're training. But typically Saturdays, I'm off. And I gotta tell you guys, having spent years working 6 days a week, like years, over 5 years, I feel so brand new having my weekends off. I've been having so much fun. And one of the things that came to me was a couple of weeks ago, I was working out on a Saturday morning, and it felt so different because after the workout, I would typically rush home, shower, and get ready for the day to work. And on this particular Saturday, I was like, wow, I could just relax. Like I can actually stay after class, socialize. I have nowhere to rush to. And at this particular gym, there's a breakfast place. It's one of my favorite breakfast places in Arizona that's just walking distance. And so after I worked out, it was a beautiful day. I was like, oh my God, the weather's amazing. I'm going to go get pancakes. I'm going to go get pancakes and bring them back to the family. And I went, walked over to the restaurant, made an order, got to wait for it because I was not rushed to go to work. So I could just make the order and wait for them right then and there to make the pancakes, and just enjoying the sun on my face. And the weather was beautiful, grabbed the pancakes and then went home. And as I'm driving, I'm just like, this is amazing. And I really wanted to lock in that moment because I was so proud of myself for giving myself and upholding the boundaries of I deserve to have an ideal work week. I deserve to have a business that aligns with what I want. I deserve to have a business that allows me more freedom and quality time with my family. And I was so proud of myself for upholding those boundaries, but also just present and in the moment, enjoying the windows down, coasting home, and being so happy, like experiencing pure joy. And then the pancake symbology, it's really become like a metaphor because now that I've switched up my schedule, I'm working out more, I'm taking care of my body. I feel good about the way that I look. I feel good about the way that I feel. It's interesting because I was thinking about pancakes as something as simple as pancakes, because as I'm eating pancakes, the J 2.0 version that's living her dream life eats pancakes without any shame or guilt. She doesn't count calories. She doesn't feel guilty about it. She doesn't even feel like she has to compensate 7 more days of straight working out and salads in order to enjoy these pancakes. No attachment, no resentment, no obligation. It's just pure, authentic joy. When I did this exercise of journaling my dream life and my ideal work week and who would I need to be, who's this person that lives this life, the 2.0 version of me. The 2.0 version of me enjoys pancakes every weekend, every freaking weekend, with zero guilt and regret. And that's the person that I'm becoming. And so me just even following through on that has served tremendous value in my life in ways that I'm sure are only going to continue to grow. As something as simple as enjoying pancakes, because I really do just enjoy them without any sort of regret and guilt. And that's because I've set up a schedule that allows me to work out again and take care of myself in a way that I want to. And my mentor used to always say to me last year, the less I do, the more I make. The less I do, the more I make. And it's been an interesting phenomenon because when your time becomes more scarce, it's just a natural result that it will become more valuable. And now that I've limited the days in which I tattoo, I can be more selective in who I choose to bring on in our company. I can raise my prices, which I have done. And it is a very, very interesting phenomenon because I haven't actually confirmed the numbers, but I will say I feel like I am making more by doing less. And it's something that I wanted to play around with early this year. That was one of my intentions, is let me just play around with this and see where it gets me. I have nothing to lose. I definitely know how to grind it out 6 days a week. That's not going anywhere. So I can always go back to that. But let me try this on for size. And that's what I hope you get out of this episode as you're listening is this may not all resonate with you, but what have you got to lose to at least try it on for size and bring play back into your life because you deserve it. And I think that the more aligned and fulfilled you are as a person, as an artist, as a technician, the more you can actually give back to your clients. Because when you're overwhelmed, when you're feeling defeated, when you're not feeling good about yourself, it can't help but translate energy is energy in the things that you're doing and the experience that you're giving. I hope this episode helped you. And I'd love to know more about your dream life. And if you have a pancake story that you'd love to share, because I'd love to hear it. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to connect and help you more. If you have a question you'd like for me to answer, please send it to jade@studioconceal.com. That's JAYD@studioconceal.com, and I might highlight it on my podcast. I find what's often personal is most general. So if this episode helped you, please share it with a friend who may need the encouragement and inspiration. I'll catch you on the next one.